Hi, everybody. We're at the top of the hour. Thank you so much for letting us know if you've heard of Google Ad Grants or if you use them. My name is Aretha Simons. I'm the webinar producer here. I know a lot of you see me. Well, hello again. Today, I'm excited that our partners from Cause Inspired is here because they're here to show you how to use Google Ad Grants, tell you the benefits of using Google Ad Grants. And I'm going to talk for a few seconds on how you can engage today. There's going to be a lot of you in the chat. We would love if you put your question in the Q&A so they can have your questions set aside and answer those. If you need the closed caption, feel free to click on that CC button and you can get the closed caption in any language. How about that? We are recording this. You'll get the recording later today or in the morning. Can't say I promise, but probably guarantee you'll get it. I'm gonna move out of the way and turn this over to I think Kara's speaking yet, although I see you first, Ben. And you guys have a great webinar. I'll see you on the other end. Have a great day, everybody.
Thank you. All righty, awesome. Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for joining. So today we are going to be talking about the Google Ad Grant. It's a great opportunity for your organization, definitely something you should be taking advantage of. So we're gonna basically do an overview of the Google Ad Grant, some of the different options you have and how you can implement it. All right, my name is Kara McKissick. I am the Senior Business Development Consultant here at Cause Inspired. Ben, I'll let you introduce yourself.
Yeah, my name is Ben Abbas. I am a team lead and a senior marketing consultant for Cause Inspired. I'm the one of the many that are in the accounts every day, working with clients and the Google Ad Grant to achieve their goals.
All righty, awesome. So just a little bit about Cause Inspired. We are a full digital marketing agency that works exclusively with nonprofits. So we have 600 plus who we work with of all ranges and sizes. We are a premier partner of Google. We have a direct working relationship with their team. And we do manage over 72 million in ad grants currently. So that's just a little background on us. Like I said, we do offer a variety of services, but we specialize in the Google Ad Grant. Alrighty, so this is just kind of a general overview of what the goal is with the ad grant, right? It's to help nonprofits share their causes with the world. So your programs, the services you provide, you deserve to have your message out there. And so this is really a great opportunity that Google provides in order for you to have your message out there. So what is the Google Ad Grant? The Google Ad Grant, this program started in the early 2000s. Basically, Google understood it was important for nonprofits to get their mission out there, but typically the budget for paid advertising is non-existent. And so they created this program, which is an in-kind donation of $10,000 each month to be used towards ads specifically on the Google search platform. I want to emphasize the Google search platform because these ads would not be pictures or videos. They would be in-text ads only. So since 2003, Google has awarded over 10 billion in free advertising to over 115,000 nonprofits across 51 countries. One of the reasons that we do these webinars is it is shocking how many nonprofits don't know about the grant. And so our job is really to make sure that you're educated, and that way you can go and tell other nonprofits about the opportunity as well. In terms of what you can use the Google Ad Grant for and where it's really beneficial, it's increasing the awareness of your organization. So, Ben's going to go a little bit further into this with some of the strategies that you can use. So I'll let him take over.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Kara. So there were a lot of twos in this chat, and I love being a part of these presentations specifically because of how many organizations just, have not utilized the Google Grant yet, or haven't had the opportunity. Maybe it's a little bit confusing, convoluted. I know that there were a couple other experts in the chat here who have experience with this world. They can probably agree. it has only gotten more complicated since it began in 2003, especially in the last year and a half, which makes this presentation really important to one, kind of explain what is the point of the Google grant, right? Why would we be pushing for it now with AI coming into play, Performance Max? And realistically, if there's one thing I want you to take away from this, is you need to investigate, whether it's through Cause Inspired and TechSoup or on your own time, you need to investigate the opportunity of the Google grant. And if you walk away from this presentation with that, then that is a huge success in my book. So first off, I want to make sure we're all on the same level, right? I know there are marketing professionals in here, but I know that there might be founders or CEOs in here that are getting pulled in a million different directions. So when we say things like it's ads on the Google search platform, well, what does that mean, right? What do they look like? What can you actually expect from the Google grant? So from the top, what are Google ads? Paid search listings that show landing pages from your website at the top of search results. They show when users on the internet are searching with keywords that you are bidding on using Google Ads auction style bidding system. And I'm going to put a quick caveat here of keywords, right? The way you get in front of users, sorry, I saw a comment of Google wasn't very transparent about it. It's an overarching theme for sure. When we talk about keywords, right? When you look on the right-hand side here and we have help protect animals, your keywords are help protect animals, or your key phrase, something that you can, an organization can bid on to show up for for this search query specifically. But and we're going to talk about the implementation of AI and how it's fundamentally not only changed the program, but kind of fractured the digital ecospace in itself, which makes it more important than ever that your strategies are fluid and flexible and able to pivot and shift based on what we are seeing result-wise from AI overview and your Google ads themselves. So from a ground level, the ads are, I go to your organization, I say, we want to bid on help protect animals. It is what your organization does. It is what you represent. This is something we want to bid on and be eligible to show up for. The sponsored result on the top here, you're going to notice that within the last few years, we've seen a shift from the little ad buttons that show up next to listings to sponsored results. This is Google's way of making things feel much more organic. For the most part, I think it does a really good job of that. But these are essentially the ads we're talking about, including the site links that we have here. We at Cause Inspired help organizations not only curate what this message says, but also how that message interacts with the keywords that we're bidding on or search themes and what action that will hopefully drive when they actually visit the landing page. Again, this is a auction style bidding system, so you're not going to win every single bid. Consider it kind of like eBay of help protect animals. We put our bid in, right? That bid is made up of a variety of factors. I could literally talk to you for this whole presentation about what those factors are, but the key one that I want you to take away from this is relevance, right? Relevance back to your website. How does help protect animals relate back to your website? If you are a thrift store, right, and you help animals with the funds you raise, but you don't talk about that at all on your website, Google's going to have a hard time finding the connection between the relevance of this keyword and your organization. And that's something we like to help organizations strategize because organizations, nonprofits, might think they might assume everyone knows what they do, right? Or where this money is going, the funds they raise, who they help. But that's not always true, especially in Google's eyes. So from a ground level, for example, if you bid on protect animals, your ad could show up like the image above, including this cute little image of this cat. I forget the kind of cat, calico cat. So the big question is, what could $120,000 in annual free ads do for you? Again, it is $10,000 a month that the budget for these Google ads is allotted. Now, it is up to, we're going to talk about that. It's not a guarantee to spend that. In fact, it's in a lot of cases difficult to spend that money. Google wants to make sure that the users or the nonprofits that are taking advantage of this program are the right nonprofits and that they're sending their users to the right locations. Meaning, if there's anybody in this chat that was really hoping that I was going to unlock the secrets of how they could bid on the keyword Taylor Swift, I am so sorry, but there is no secret there. You are not going to win that bid with the Google grant. So all of that combined, relevance is going to be key, and relevance really drives how much of the grant you spend, as well as a few other factors like your geographical location. I have a small thrift store client up in Minnesota that literally wants to target a 20-mile radius. With that being said, their audience is going to be a little bit smaller than, say, one of my national brands, like Remote Area Medical, that we'll talk about at the end for one of our case studies. And those factors have to be taken into account here when we talk about the Google Grants overall spend, the objective. Can this accomplish some of the goals that you want? And that's where Kara comes in, of being able to help you navigate those conversations of what do you want the Google Grant to do? Where do you want to promote? And how can it help? So from a top level, what is the Google Grant really, really good at? And that's driving brand awareness and website traffic. Driving awareness to what your organization does through some of your more general keywords, top of funnel keywords, I like to call them. It's going to help you improve your brand control on the search network. So every time a user looks for your organization, you're showing as the first result. Provide the AI overview doesn't get in the way. We'll talk about that. But also some of the more general terms, not to use thrift store so many times, but I do have quite a few thrift store clients. If there is a user who is looking for the term, where can I donate clothing? Well, that is absolutely something that's really important to my thrift store clients, of being able to accept those donations. That way they can further their cause by, again, helping animals, helping the homeless, whatever that may be. So it's not just the brand terms you use, it's some of the overall general terms that people are searching for as well. That's where the grant really comes into play. Once you get more specific with your keywords, super specific, a lot of organizations come into the Google Grant program, and I'm going to sound like Eeyore here, and I'm sorry about that, is people always want to bid on the term donate to charity or donate money to charity. But the reality is, twofold. One, there aren't that many searches around that term as you would think, right? It's a little bit depressing. I said I was going to be Eeyore here, but also every charity on the planet is going to be bidding on those terms, which doesn't make it a good fit for the Google grant. Instead, coming up with strategies to get in front of an audience that is going to engage with your nonprofit in various ways, whether that starts with a website visit, turns into a newsletter subscription, turns into them attending one of your events. Suddenly they're ingrained in your organization. Next thing you know, giving season comes along and you have a new supporter. That's how I want you guys to think about the Google Grant. Can and do Google Grant ads bring donations on the first visit? They can, absolutely. I've seen it, especially for organizations that are either fairly well known or the concept of the organization is fairly easy to understand. You want to help the homeless, and I have a homeless shelter. You donate $20, and this is exactly what you get out of that $20 donation. Here's what it goes to. That's easier to get someone to pull the trigger on that or convert than it is, say, putting money towards funding of a very specific specialized disease that they're just trying to spread awareness for. Each one of your missions is unique, right? It's unique and it has its own specific audience and conversion funnel that we'd like to talk you through of how do you get started with new users, right? How do you get started and how do you put your best foot forward to get involved with your local community? And how does someone go from visiting your site for the first time to becoming an ongoing donor every giving season? It can drive engagements and registrations, bidding on keywords such as things to do this weekend, family-friendly events, or events near me to increase event registrations. I have a lot of event-based organizations that really rely on the public getting together for I have multiple festival clients. So getting together for that festival and supporting a good cause while also driving the awareness of this is what by buying a ticket actually supports. So if you are an organization and you have annual events, golf tournaments happen a lot, the Google Grant is usually a really good resource to get in front of a new audience by bidding on some of those more generalized event-based keywords. Drive ticket sales and memberships. Increase membership purchases and ticket sales by showing your ads to people who are looking for zoos or wildlife organizations in their area. I have multiple aquariums, safaris, not so much zoos, but animal sanctuaries. Again, kind of leaning into that event-based marketing. Now, there is a good element of awareness that we want to drive through all of these avenues. And if you're thinking to yourself, well, Ben, like we don't really host events and we're certainly not a safari. If there are any safaris, aquariums, zoos, anything like that, and you do decide to investigate cause-inspired services, you're probably going to end up on my desk because I kind of demand that. With all of that being said, I want you to know that I have a wide plethora of clients with topics such as thrift stores, homeless shelters, specialized diseases that they're raising awareness for, health clinics. The Google Grant, specifically how people search, is so varied that it is a good program for just about anybody. And that is why I'm so excited for these presentations is I know there are a lot of twos in the chat. And if you're thinking to yourself, is the Google Grant a good fit for me? Almost, I would say 95% of the time, yes. There is a 5% that there are some loopholes that Google puts in place that we have to jump through, and it may not work for you, but that's something we can help you navigate. So what could $120,000, up to $120,000 do for you? Just think of the possibilities. Let's talk about AI. This is the most common question I get in 2025, 2026. I'm actually going to flip back to it really quick. We saw the image of help protect animals, right? And we saw what this listing looked like with the sponsored result. A lot of our listings, though, no longer look like this. A lot of our search queries no longer look like this. And that's due to the fact that AI has become such a big player, not just within Google, but within the digital marketing ecospace as a whole. So now you have AI Overview now looks to answer common questions before a user even clicks. It's called the Zero Click Initiative from Google. The AI Overview section can show above or below sponsored results section, which impacts CTR and keyword strategy. For instance, we just saw help protect animals. We got an ad served for it. However, when you change that search query to organizations that save animals, I would say these are very relevant or very related searches. You're going to see AI Overview before the actual either sponsored results or organic results below it. Why this is important? Well, it fundamentally changes the game a little bit because through AI overview, people are getting some of their questions answered before ever having to actually click on a link. Thus, meaning if your ad is showing up below AI overview, your ad is showing up below AI overview, but people are getting their questions answered first without needing to click. It's going to impact your CTR, your click-through rate, because your ad technically showed. That's something really important, and it actually might be a prominent factor in us suggesting a different keyword strategy. For those of you who posted ones in the chat, who have had the grant for a long time, we'll talk about where you are as a nonprofit with your Google Grant journey. But I've met, probably in 2025 more than ever, a lot of nonprofits that were either running the Google Grant in-house or just had a solo external marketing person kind of managing it for them with a very simplistic strategy. And what we're seeing nowadays is it is becoming harder and harder to actually use those simplified strategies due to the fact that AI overview and the changes to the platform have fragmented the ecospace itself. So we're having to make pivots like this on a pretty frequent basis. Strategies that worked in 2024 may not have worked in 2025. Strategies that worked in 2025 may not work in 2026. And it's being able to be fluid with the marketing world, not with the marketing world, with the AI overview changes and changes that Google makes to the algorithm at their upcoming summit is really important whether you go through Cause Inspired or you're doing this in-house. One of the one takeaways I want you to take away from this is be fluid with your strategy. Be willing to pivot off of some of those keywords and search terms. Why do I need an expert to manage my account? I'm going to get a little salesy here. Sorry. First off, the Google Grant is a great program, but it does come with its own compliance policies that we must follow. And those compliance policies are a little bit of a moving target, especially within the last year. With that, the Google Ad Grants have many compliance policies and guidelines to upkeep and prevent the account from being suspended due to the fact that during its, I don't know, the very start of the Google grant, a lot of nonprofits could bid on whatever they wanted keyword wise. It was a little bit of the wild, wild west on the digital marketing space. That funny little example I talked about with Taylor Swift, that was possible in 2005, 2006. Google had to put in place policies, compliance policies that made sure that not only were we bidding on the correct keywords, but that users were finding the information valuable. So we'll talk about what some of those policies are and some of those shifting policies as well. Why do you need an expert? The technical optimizations, I keep using the word fluid. I'm so sorry about that. But realistically, the strategies that I've had to employ just at the start of 2026 are rapidly changing. So we have the time to optimize the technical aspects of your account, such as adding new keywords, creating ads, as well as going into your GA4 GTM. If some of these terms are unfamiliar to you, your Google Analytics and your Google Tag Manager are the way that you track what actions are happening on the back end of your website. Being able to create specific conversions for your website depending on what we want to track through the Google Grant. Things like newsletter signups, that all falls in within technical optimizations and is becoming, I don't want to say increasingly difficult. For those of you who have played around in Google Tag Manager, maybe for the first time, it can be a little bit daunting trying to jump in and create a conversion from scratch without really understanding the platform. But that's why we're here to help. Tracking and reporting. Knowing how your ad grant account is helping your website, specifically like what your traffic is doing, how are they getting to the site, and then from there, we just got through December, a annual year-over-year basis where I can show my clients this is what the grant brought in, but in comparison to where we were last year, we're in really good standing. We've seen organic rankings increase. We've seen paid search increase through CPC, and all of that is available. We'll talk about what tracking is actually available. We'll talk about what tracking is actually available through like reporting and dashboards. But just know that having a pulse on what your grant is doing kind of at all times is really important. And if you don't want to sign into Google Ads to do that, that's where our dashboards come into place. And finally, if you haven't gathered this from me yet, constantly evolving landscapes, right? The Google grant has seen major changes in the last 18 months alone. As AI continues to disrupt and fragment the digital marketing world, having strategies that can adjust quickly has become more important than ever. Being able to pivot based on what we're seeing from AI overview and CTR is going to be one of the keys to success. I'm going to take a little sip of water, otherwise I will lose my voice in the next slide. Love that question, Leslie, about conversions. With that, conversions is kind of its own category in itself, unfortunately, just because each conversion is so unique to what you're trying to achieve. Basically, the conversion setup, without going on too much of a tangent, of whether you're trying to track it in GA4 and build it in GA4, whether it's through a third party that you have to track through GTM, that's something that we can absolutely consult on and talk to you about on an individual basis. But with that being said, we are going to have webinars in the future that are dedicated to GA4 and conversion tracking in the future. So keep an eye out for those. Compliance policies. So what are Google's compliance policies? How do they affect your Google grant? And some things to keep in mind. This first one, I'm gonna put an asterisk on it just because this is evolving literally by the day. You need to have high performing metrics. We have to maintain a 5% CTR and optimize your account for a healthy 15% conversion rate or lower. And for those of you who are listening to that, knowing that a conversion is something we want people to do on site, and it has to be lower than 15%, that doesn't make sense. CTR is click-through rate. That is how often are your ads clicked on. So a 5% CTR basically means your ads are being clicked on 5% of the time. 5% is fairly aggressive, and Google set it that way to make sure that whatever keywords we're bidding on are hyper relevant to the organization. To bring up that Taylor Swift example one more time, if you were to bid on Taylor Swift, I'm going to make an assumption for all of the organizations in here. Please forgive me if I'm wrong on this. I'm going to go ahead and guess that there's nothing on your sites about Taylor Swift, right? If I'm wrong about that, please send me a link. I would love to see it. However, so when you bid on the keyword Taylor Swift, and there's nothing on your site that actually is relevant back to that topic, your CTR, your click-through rate, is going to be extremely low because people are not going to be clicking on those ads because your ads have to be relevant to your website. So click-through rate has to be above 5%. Conversions have to be below 15%. This is kind of a moving target as Google continuously changes the platform. But that is making sure that we keep your conversions as valuable. And what I mean by that is I can go into a GA4 account and create a conversion for darn near anything that's happening on the website. Let's say I wanted to see what percentage of people were scrolling 20% down the website, right? So they made it 20% down your site. I could link that as a conversion. Is that valuable? The answer is no, right? The answer is that conversion is not valuable and it's used to simply inflate your conversion rate, thus trying to abuse Google's system of telling it it's doing a good job by bringing really valuable traffic in there, when in reality, what you're tracking is people making it 20% down the page. There are exceptions to this. Let's say Courtney, I'm going to use you as an example just because I see your name. Let's say Courtney has an absolute crazy month where she brings in just a record number of either donations, volunteer signups, email newsletter, and it exceeds that 15%. Well, Google's not going to hit you with the ban hammer, but it will flag you, right? It will flag you and say, hey, you're over that 15%. And then it's on us as a marketing partner to go to the Google grant support team and say, here's the context behind it. And that's why it's important to either have an established relationship with the Google Grant team or know how to access those avenues through Google Help links. High quality keywords and search themes. I'm not going to bring up Taylor Swift again, but you need to make sure that whatever you're bidding on, keywords or search themes, are hyper relevant to your website. A homeless shelter should be talking about their homeless shelter, their current needs for their homeless shelter, what you can do to get involved with their homeless shelter, or even some of the events that their homeless shelter is putting on to bring the community in and support their organization. It's when we get a little bit abstract with that that a lot of organizations start to lose the purpose of the grant. I think blogs are great. I think blogs are one of the most powerful tools a nonprofit can have. If you are currently in chat and you don't have a blog, right, and you're not talking about your organization, I would change that, to be perfectly honest, because what it allows you to do is it allows you to put content on your website that relates back to your organization in a way that's very organic, but may access new keywords that you didn't have access to before. And an example of this would be, to bring up thrift stores again, one of my thrift stores posted a blog talking about summer fashion trends and how before you go to big box stores or you go online for the new summer look, you should absolutely check your local thrift store, specifically this thrift store. Here's the link to see what's available within our store because we're bringing in high quality, fabric clothing that you may not have expected. So suddenly what that nonprofit did, what the thrift store did, is they just accessed summer styles 2025 keywords just from a blog that's still hyper relevant to their thrift store and user intent. It's when you get a little bit too far away from that. Now, if any of you are like, so I need to write a blog about Taylor Swift to take advantage of that 18 million searches she has a month, please don't, right? Unless Taylor Swift comes and visits your organization specifically. First of all, jealous. Also, send me the link. That's incredible. Make sure that your blogs are still relevant to your organization. And being able to collaborate, this is what our team does a really good job of. Your strategist isn't just there to list off keywords that have high search inventory. It's also to brainstorm, how do we get in front of a wider audience base, right? An audience that does not know about you, but is still your ideal customer volunteer donor. Those are the strategies that we really like to employ. And I do think we have a webinar coming up later this year that specifically talks about like relevant blog content and how to this is going to sound aggressive, weaponize blog content to be a much more aggressive form of marketing that gets people to actually take action on your website. Mission-based copy, all ads have to be written to comply with your mission and be relevant to your organization. This just means you have to have really well-written ads and that your ads themselves speak about the landing page that they're going to. Otherwise, it's clickbaity and it's kind of gotcha. Finally, Google website policies. Our team helps you navigate difficult website policies set by Google to optimize for best performance possible. Some of these website policies include things like if you are an organization that deals or that helps individuals rehabilitate from drug use or alcohol use, first off, love your organization already. But there are hurdles that you are going to have to go through to advertise on Google. And our team's here to help you with that. But being able to set the standard of there are limitations on some of these ad topics that we absolutely must comply with before we start spreading the word about your organization. So also making sure that your website is up to date on website speed, that it's easy to navigate, that your mobile version is working as it should. I will consistently make, here's a fun little, we will absolutely be sending a copy of this webinar for review. Here's a free tip on your website that I've seen work for most nonprofits. If you are using text links or in links within your actual copy itself instead of buttons for your call to action, I want you to stop it now. And I want you to start using buttons. And I want you to start telling users at the top of the page, at the bottom of the page, in the middle of the page, sandwich CTAs, what exactly you want them to do on your website. It doesn't have to be aggressive. It doesn't have to be super in their face, but you do want to remind them this is how you get involved with our organization. Don't rely on text links. One little tip that I preach to all of my nonprofits when we talk about website policy. Tracking and reporting. This is just a view of what our tracking and reporting dashboards look like. You're going to get monthly reports. You're going to know the details of your performance every month with easy to read reports. And then you have a live dashboard. Live dashboard is really cool because you can access the information at any time. You can use how many newsletter signups came in today. Well, the dashboard can tell you that. And it gives you live updates on exactly how your Google grant is performing or areas that it's not performing. And then we can help strategize exactly where we can take advantage of more search inventory, what are users doing when they get to the website, and then how do we continuously get people down that supporter funnel, if you will. I'm trying to get away from the term sales funnel, supporter funnel. So I saw a lot of ones. While I saw a lot of twos, I saw a few ones. We meet nonprofits at different stages of the Google grant journey. The biggest thing I can push to you is when I am introduced to a client, I am introduced to them while they are at one of these three various stages. A lot of you are brand new. This is you finding out about the grant for the first time. You don't know how to get started. We can help you apply for it, right? Even if that means by the end of it, that grant management services aren't up your alley, we can point you in the right direction to actually get you approved for the grant. I know there are quite a few organizations that have outdated or underutilized grants. There are a few of you in here that I'm probably sure, hey, we got the Google grant 5 years ago, but we just haven't really been able to make it work, right? We haven't really gotten this off the ground. And there's a variety of factors that go into that. Each of them is unique to your own organization, but there are some levers that we can pull on our side, whether it's with Google support team or just strategies that we know have worked in the past. We can meet you where you are and help you utilize your grant to the fullest, whatever the fullest may be. Or let's say you're in here and you have a grant and it's spending $4,000 a month. And you are telling yourself, we can do better, right? We can spend more of this grant. We're leaving a little bit of budget on the table. How do we take this to the next level? We have a team literally dedicated for that. Having trouble with some of the intricate details, and that includes those conversions, right? Those pesky GTM and conversion, or GTM and GA4 conversions that seem to be one of the most difficult parts for nonprofits. And I don't blame you, right? Living in that world is unique to marketers. That's where we can really help. And while that is true for new nonprofits that have had the grant or looking to refine, it just helps take that next step with most grant accounts. Does everyone who applies for the grant get it, or how many do not? That's a great question, Sydney. It's not a guarantee to get this grant. However, we're able to vet and tell you really early on if this is going to be a good fit or if you are going to be approved for the grant. You have to, Google looks for a few things, like you have to be established, you have to have an EIN number. Pro tip, if you currently don't have your EIN number at the footer of your website, do that today, right? Especially if you want to if you want to take advantage of the Google Grant program, but also it helps with credibility and tax purposes for the long term. Pro tip. So to answer your question, how many don't get it? That's more of a Kara question that I'll let her answer at the end because she's the one who helps onboard and kind of vet people through. But I would say we get many more approvals than we get rejections, but there is the chance that your grant is rejected. Your grant proposal is rejected. I just want to talk about one of an example, right? If we're getting to near the end where we can talk about questions here, and I just want to give you an example of what one of my clients uses the Google Grant for. And if this resonates with some of you, great. Remote Area Medical is a organization that is very near and dear to my heart. They are an organization that basically just travels across the country giving free vision, dental, and medical care. It's one of the most incredible organizations I've ever worked with. They get volunteer doctors to sign up for these pop-up clinics, and then they just help people by the thousands wherever they go. They utilize the grant in a few different ways. They utilize the grant for general awareness, right? Of here is what remote area medical is. Here's why you should care in the first place. They use it for volunteers, and that is to volunteer, whether that is a dentist, a dental hygienist, a general volunteer that helps sign people in. The Google Grant does a really good job of getting volunteers through to their website, and so they can keep doing the life-changing and life-saving work that they do. And also, I'd be remiss to say that this is one of the organizations that does get donations directly from the Google Grant. It is not something I'm going to push on all of you, that I'm not going to guarantee that your organization is going to get donations from your Google Grant directly. However, I've seen it happen. And I've seen it happen, especially from after you build that awareness and get people involved with your organization, and then when you come back to that town and you're promoting to them again, that's where we really see those lower funnel conversions come through. So we see, oh, and last thing, and probably the most important thing they use the Google Grant for is they use it to get in front of the public. So somebody who's searching for, I need dental care, right? And I need dental care and I have no insurance. I don't have the funds to do this. They use the Google Grant to get in front of that audience, helping them, and thus, most of the time, creating a lifetime supporter of the organization. Now, there might be some of you in here that are going, Ben, we have enough people that we need to help. We need to find more people that are willing to support us. The Google Grant can absolutely help with that, but I always like to take a two-pronged approach of getting in front of those who need your service and getting in front of people who care enough about your service to donate volunteer, sign up for a newsletter, stay in touch with your organization. This is just one small example of one of my favorite clients, but if it helps you kind of rationalize in your head of how to get in front of your audience, this would be one way. Oregon Pediatric Society, fantastic example here. Eligibility site states not a hospital or a healthcare organization, unless, and if you dive into it, if you are accredited healthcare nonprofit, does remote area medical have to jump through medical loopholes? Absolutely, they do. And it's something that we help them do. If you're a hospital in here, unfortunately, you're going to be denied for the grant. That one's pretty strict. However, that's why it's also really important to talk to TechSoup, talk to us, and we can help you navigate, is this a good fit for your organization? Whew, I've talked a lot at you guys. I really appreciate you all putting questions in the chat, putting questions in the CTA. I'm going to pass it over to Kara to kind of round us out, and then we will open the floor up to questions.
Thank you so much, Ben. Yeah, and just to kind of touch on what Ben was saying, there are some caveats when it comes to eligibility with the grant. So please do not hesitate to reach out to me. You can either fill out that form or you can contact me directly. If you are unsure if your organization qualifies, I have been with Cause Inspired for 6.5 years in this position, so I've walked many organizations through this process. I'm pretty good at being able to tell based on their website, as well as the way they were registered, whether or not they'll be able to qualify. So again, don't hesitate to reach out. I'm happy to help. So want to leave the floor open for any questions that any of you have. Please feel free to put it in the chat or the Q&A.
And I want to address a few, in case these weren't addressed, I do want to go through a few that while I was on my little bit of my soapbox there that I missed. Joel asked, would your bidding be based on your region? You would definitely bid based on the search inventory that's within the geographical region that you want to target. And what I mean by that is that thrift store example of they have a 20-mile radius because that's where they know their customer base is from. Can you get outside of that radius and start targeting other pockets that might be thrift hunting, right, if you will? Absolutely. My bidding strategies are almost always going to be based on conversions, though, right? Conversion-based bidding strategies are king in the Google grant, which means your conversions, making sure that your conversions are valuable and set up correctly is really, really important and something that we can help with. Hopefully that answers your question, Joel. Looked into it in PMAX for nonprofits. It's search and maps only. Absolutely. For those of you who know anything about Performance Max, if you look up Performance Max generally outside of the grant, it includes search, YouTube, display, remarketing, display, maps, and thinking this is the golden goose for the Google grant. And while Performance Max is absolutely something we use within the Google grant, Daryl is right, being it is only Google search ads and map ads if somebody is looking for something like, sorry to bring up thrift store again, thrift store near me. That's where one of your ads can actually pop up. Let me continue to scroll up here, see if I missed anything. For those of you who are talking about conversions, keep a ear out or an eye out for an upcoming presentation regarding conversions, or if there are specific conversions that you need help with, right? This is an opportunity to go through TechSoup, fill out that form, complete the interest form, and then we can talk about some of the options available. I wish I could answer all of your conversion questions right here and now. Unfortunately, I would hold everyone hostage in this meeting for about 3 hours while we go through it, just because there's a lot of intricacies that go into it. But please know there are people here that are here to help you. And I didn't see anybody speak up about Taylor Swift, so I'm gonna assume that none of you have Taylor Swift content on your website, or Taylor Swift has never visited your organizations. Continuing on with pricing for your services, that's all done through the interest form, where that's where Kara can reach out to you and talk about like what packages are available, custom packages, and it's just honestly, it's not an area that I get into because I think this came across. I'm not a salesperson. As a strategist, it's my job to work in the accounts every day and let you know what works and what doesn't.
And you're actually a great salesperson. You just don't know it. But yeah, so if you do have any questions, if you're interested in signing up for services, please do reach out to me. I will be the one who is spearheading that conversation with you. So I would love for you to reach out. I also want to note too that even if you know you're in a position where you can't outsource or maybe you're looking to manage it internally, please still reach out because I can provide you with some resources to help you get started. So don't hesitate to email me or fill out the form.
Also, Sydney, that's incredible. Talk about super fitting. Absolutely incredible. Literal jaw drop moment. Let me see. I'm looking through the Q&A right now. Ryan, thank you so much for answering the majority of these questions that have come through. Is it a prerequisite, I can't speak anymore, guys. I'm so sorry. To using Google Ads, having a well-designed website? It's a great question. Google is always going to incentivize well-built websites for their ads. It's literally one of the parts. There's something called quality score that's associated with your ads and keywords. And one of the parts that goes into those quality scores is how easy is it to navigate your website? How fast is your website? Making sure that your website is really easily accessible to people and people can find what they want is one of the biggest keys to success on the Google grant. Before we even talk about like keyword strategy or bidding strategy, making sure that your website does exactly what you want it to and what your users want it to is one of your biggest hurdles or one of your biggest tasks to start. Hopefully that answers your question, data change makers. Could you link the form here? Amazing. It's easy to get the grant. Just follow the instructions. Absolutely.
Yep.
Again, if you take anything away from this, how often does the grant need to be renewed? As long as you stay in compliance, the grant is auto renewing every month, right? But it is not a program that they say, okay, you've got the grant for a year and then we'll reevaluate. It's here's the grant. Stay within compliance, and the program is going to be around for, I don't see the program going away anytime soon. I hope this has been really helpful for people. Again, I don't mean to soapbox on this, but if you take anything away from this presentation, it is as a nonprofit, there are resources out there for you that I want you to take advantage of. Some of them are really difficult, right? And can be really complicated. And that's why we're here. But at the very least, walk away from this presentation, investigating the grant and seeing if like this is possible for you guys to run in-house. And if it's not, totally fine. That's what we're here for. So by all means, fill out that form. Happy to chat with you guys. I appreciate all the questions. I appreciate everybody's interest in this. You guys have been a really fun chat. which is not always the case. Sometimes chats go pretty quiet and I have to listen to the sound of my own voice for too long. So thank you guys for being engaged. I really appreciate it. And keep in mind or keep an ear out for the other webinars that we have coming down the future through TechSoup.